Hey, y'all, and who dat? This is Jeff Nowak, WWL Radio and Audacy digital sports producer, and I've spent a good chunk of this week trying to dive into the question of who exactly is Dennis Allen. The Saints hired DA to succeed Sean Payton after the longtime head coach's abrupt retirement. But despite Dennis Allen having been here for a while now, he's been the defensive coordinator for about 5 seasons, and this being his second stint, his personality still, I think, remains a mystery to a lot of the fans who will now be yelling his name for good and bad reasons every Sunday. And I think there's a fair reason for that. He's always working, always studying. It's what he does. That's what everyone who knows him will tell you. From his prep days at LD Bell High School to his college days at Texas A&M and a short stint in NFL training camps, the phrases that come up often are coach in the making, coach on the field, and whatever other variations you can think of. Even as he was cut from Bill's camp, he mentioned to the head coach at the time, Wade Phillips, that he had interest in entering the coaching field. But before that, he went back to A&M to become an overworked graduate assistant under now retired head coach R.C. Slocum. Here's a bit of what the coach had to say. In short, he thinks the job in New Orleans was well earned.
I can't say enough good things about Dennis Allen. He was everything from the day I first met him. He was everything I thought he would be and is. And I thought all of his character and the extra things about him would allow him to be a really good player, which he was for us. He came in, he was exactly what I thought he needed. He did everything that you would want a guy to do. I tell people, if they'd all been like Dennis Allen, I'd still have dark hair. He was a coach in the making right from the start. The thing that impressed me so much, he played great for us. You never had to worry about him. He was going to know what we were doing, and he was going to help those around him to be better. But the thing that impressed me, he got a chance to go to camp, didn't make it in the league, and came back and he wanted to coach. And I said, well, I can put you on as a graduate assistant. Those days, all that you were allowed to pay was the equivalent of a scholarship. So the guy had to be going to class, and you couldn't pay him any more than what he would what the cost of a scholarship would be to continue his studies. So he did that. He said, Coach, I'd love to do that. And over the years, it's so hard to get guys. People talk about coaching and guys getting into coaching, guys becoming head coaches and all that. There's a process that most of us went through. And when I talk about Jimmy Johnson, you talk about me, you talk about Norv Turner, you talk about just go on and on the list of guys, all started off at the very lowest level and made no money. It was, and so over the years, I would approach guys and about coming out of the NFL to come get into coaching. And a lot of them would have some initial interest, but when it came time and they found out how long they're going to have to work, 7 days a week, and how little they were going to get paid, they said, Coach, I don't want any part of that. And but Dennis was a guy that just embraced it. One of my former assistants, Bill Johnson, was at Atlanta and called and asked Dennis about coming there and being a quality control guy, which is the NFL equivalent of being a graduate assistant again. So here's a guy who's worked his tail off to finally get a full-time job. And after 1 year, he called me. He said, Coach, what do you think? I said, go to Atlanta as quickly as you can get there, and you'll get in that league, and you'll do great.
And that's how DA the player became DA the coach, although as RC told you, he was a coach kind of all along from day one. But how exactly did Dennis Allen become DA in the first place? Well, going back to his high school days, it was DASA, and that's Dennis All-State Allen. Slocum said he never called him DA, but he knew his team did. So I asked Ray Mickens, former NFL cornerback and former teammate of Dennis Allen, about the origin of that name, and he had a pretty solid answer. There you go.
Yeah, we all got nicknames in college, man. I mean, whether they were funny or something that we did or didn't do, but Dennis is, we just weren't used to calling anybody Dennis. So DA was a lot cooler in our locker room. That there's guys that, they'll give you a nickname in the locker room, whether it be abbreviation of your name or something funny that you've done, or how you look, or how your ears are, or whatever it is. you're going to get a nickname in the locker room. That's something that you don't make. The team got to give it to you. And we just called him DA, DA from LD Bell High School. So that's what I've known him as. And DA's name it just came organically, naturally from the locker room.
And yes, that's DA for short, DA from LD Bell for long. Anything but Dennis, as Ray so eloquently put it there. But from that point is where DA's journey gets a bit more circuitous. He spent 3 years as an overworked and underappreciated grad assistant at Texas A&M before joining another former A&M assistant for a season at Tulsa as a secondary coach. 1 year later, it was another former A&M assistant, Bill Johnson, on the line. The Falcons needed a defensive quality control assistant, a job R.C. Slocum equated to a college grad assistant, but still encouraged his former player and assistant to take. He said the NFL is just a faster route for talented coaches to separate themselves. But by the time Allen got to the Saints, he had somehow morphed into a D-line assistant despite not playing that position in college. And here's Bill Johnson explaining exactly how that happened.
And so he was with us with Dan Reeves. And then when Jim Moore came, and what happened was Jim was going to move on and bring his own guy in. Well, me and Emmett Thomas went to Jim and said, listen, don't do that. He said, this guy's too good. He's going to be a star. He goes, well, the quality control is not going to be in the secondary. We're going to have two guys. We're going to put the D-line, we're going to put the quality control in the D-line room with you, Bill. I said, well, good. That's who I want. I don't remember how he got to New Orleans other than Gary Gibbs and I was talking at the Senior Bowl, and they were looking for an assistant D-line coach, and I kept saying, hey, this guy's sharp. You need to get him. And I think he went and did 1 year. Then Sean realized it, put him in the secondary, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. I think we stayed 2 or 3 years in that D-line room together, whatever it was. And I can remember in the second year, third year, it's like, hey, man, put the tape together and you cover this. And, I'd let him take some install or whatever it is in the room. And, and the players really did well. And when he was in the secondary, Emmett Thomas felt the same way. Because if you got two good people that can present it, it takes the workload off everybody. And he did a good job with that. And so I think when he went back to his home, where he knew the coach, I think he did a good job of tying in fronts and coverages. And the next thing you know, he's organized. He's a good presenter. I think he's a pretty darn good listener. Listening's a skill. I don't know if people know that, but some people just can't listen. They may be looking at you, but they ain't hearing you.
From there, it's history, right? DA was a key member of the Saints defensive staff. They helped win a Super Bowl title and lead many a successful season. He was in line for a head coaching job, but it was only a matter of time. So what exactly went wrong in Oakland? The numbers 8 and 28 from Allen's tenure as Raiders head coach are said a lot, but rarely with context. It was a team that was riddled with roster holes, drafted poorly, and had no clear plan at quarterback. It was a recipe for disaster. And R.C. Slocum was more than willing to add that context for his former player and assistant, whom he expects to flourish in a much better suited opportunity.
But I think he took a bad job. And I had an opportunity when Norv Turner was going there right after my time at A&M. I had a chance to go with Norv out there. And after talking with other coaches that I knew well and respected, to the man, all of them advised me not to do that. You don't need to get into that situation. I would say to Dennis, you made a bad decision taking that job. It was obvious that he was going to get a head job. He was on track to get one. And I just think he erred in taking that job. If you're going to get your one shot, and make sure it's with a good one where you've got a chance and where you got some control over what's going on the field and what's going on in the scouting and all those different things. There's an organizational factor that's a huge factor in teams winning. And I could name some other teams around the league right now that I won't. I'm just saying organizations have a whole lot to do with coaches being successful. And if you get into an organization where a lot of that's not in place, I don't care how well the coach coaches. Number one, he's not going to be coaching the right guys. You can look around at some teams in the league, and look at the guy, look at their roster, look at the draft picks, look at who they have. You say, it's no wonder. It's no wonder the coach doesn't win there, and they go through coach after coach after coach and still don't win. Well, it's not all those coaches aren't bad guys. They didn't all get dumb when they got to those organizations. There are factors beyond the coach. I think at the time that Dennis put himself into a situation where guy after guy after guy has had a hard time in that situation being successful. So I don't think at all it's a reflection on Dennis, other than he was anxious to be a head coach. And I would have advised him to wait and just wait till another job comes along.
So will the Saints job present that opportunity Slocum wishes D.A. had held out for all those years ago? It'll be a tough job, but as D.A. puts it, this is New Orleans after all.
I love this fan base. I want our team to mirror this fan base. I want our team to have the same passion and energy that this fan base has. I can tell you this, our team is going to be tough, our team is going to be smart, and our team is going to be highly competitive. And we're going to play with a passion and an energy that our opponents are either unwilling or unable to match. And that's what the New Orleans Saints are going to be about.
It's a tough job. That's why you bring in tough people. But that's it for me. Again, my name is Jeff Nowak, WWL Radio and Audacy digital sports producer. Thank you for following along, and make sure to check out all of our latest headlines and news, notes, and analysis over on WWL.com and Audacy.com/WWL. And check out more from all these interviews and daily video updates by becoming a subscriber over on YouTube. That's YouTube.com/WWL Sports. Thanks, y'all.